Jim Pewter program 2804 Wednesday.
Hi and welcome, this is Jim Pewter, and like I promised you, he's here in person, Duane Eddy. That's Peppy, that's Duane Eddy and all the Rebels, and this is Jim Pewter with the man that started a rock and roll craze with instrumentals that continues today. Welcome, Duane.
Thank you, Jim. How you doing?
Good. I think it's been almost 10 years, I think, since we last did a show here.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while.
And I just want the people to know that last Friday I saw Duane and the Rebels in concert, and it was fantastic. You had Steve Douglas, your original sax man.
That's right.
And did all the tunes. We're going to be playing a lot of the hits. Rebel Rouser and 330 Blues will be coming up. And let's go back, Duane, and for a lot of the people that might be, just starting to buy records and heard your name through their older brothers or sisters. Let's talk about your early career. Where were you from originally?
I was born in New York State, in Corning, New York, and then when I was a kid we moved to Arizona, and I finished growing up there and going to school and everything, and started seriously playing when I was about 13. I'd picked up guitar first time when I was about 5 years old, learned 2 or 3 chords from my dad, which is all he knew, and it was just a hobby until I was about 13, and I started getting serious about it. And about 15, I started, at 15 years old, started working in local clubs with country bands and so forth while I was still in high school. And then after I got out of high school, while I was still in high school, I met a disc jockey named Lee Hazelwood, who was working in the same small town in Arizona there. And he became a record producer, and we stayed friends for a few years, and I was working in Phoenix later with the country group still, and we decided to cut a record and see what happened. Along about 1957 we started.
Yeah. How did the style with your twangy guitar style, like playing now the 6 strings on the guitar, you play the first, was it the bottom 3? You would pick the melodies, the notes out, the melody line out of how did that come about? Because that was so unique, at the time.
Well, that's one reason it came about, because it was unique. It was not done that much, and I needed something that would record well, and you can't just go in and play riffs or hot solos all the time. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. So I had to come up with some idea of how to make an instrumental record with a melody, and so that's what I did. We decided to try it on the bass strings because it recorded better. And the first thing we did in 1957 was released early 1958, and it went about halfway up the charts, and it used a combination of it really didn't have a melody. It's got two riffs put together, one on the high strings and one on the low strings, and it was called Moving and Grooving.
Let's give it a listen one more time. Duane Eddy. That was the first of many to follow. Duane Eddy, his twangy guitar. I'm looking at the first album, Duane, that I remember so well buying this album. I still have it today. And this is the one that included not only the one we just heard, but Ramrod and Detour and the 330 Blues. We'll be hearing that later. Cannonball, The Lonely One. A lot of great hits came off of this.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Well, we'd done several of those as singles before we did the album. The album came along a few months later.
Yeah.
So they put them all the singles that I'd been doing on that album.
Were you doing shows at the time Movin' and Groovin' hit the charts?
I did one show in Los Angeles. Came over from Phoenix and did a week, and I just had a song called Movin' and Groovin'. It was halfway up the charts. It was doing quite well. That's as well as it did, actually. But I did that one show, and I met a group called Sharps, who later were the ones that did a lot of the yelling on the records,
right,
and later became the Rivingtons.
Sure, Papa Mama.
Right, yeah. And I realized while I was doing that show that I needed something that was, to get me on stage, something more of a stage song than Movin' and Groovin' was. So the record company decided that since Movin' and Groovin' did as well as it did, that we should go back in and try again. So when we went back in the studio, I wrote a song that I thought would be good on stage, that it would, in my mind, I pictured it working very well. And that was called Rebel Rouser.
And we're going to hear it in just a few seconds.
Yeah.
Here's another tip from the safety files. Marine Corporal Jay Morgan was working in the mess hall when the cook asked him to sharpen the kitchen knives. Jay took the knives into the utility room and turned on the electric grinder. As sparks flew, he carefully ran the blades back and forth on the high-speed wheel. The last knife was very dull, so Jay pushed down very hard. The tip of the knife broke off and shot right into his eye. When your eyes are exposed to hazardous conditions, always wear protective glasses. Ask Jay. He learned the hard way. I'd like to add that Duane Eddy, is our special guest, and Duane is the man that paved the way for instrumentals in rock and roll. He's had more hits than anyone else. He's influenced just about everyone who's picked up the guitar from 1958 on. And like you said earlier, this is the song that went all the way to the top. And within a couple of months, right, Duane, I think everyone knew who you were after this.
Yeah, this was the big one.
Rebel Rouser. Duane Eddy and the Rebels, along with the Rivingtons, right? But they didn't.
Right.
They weren't called the Rivingtons at that time.
No, they were called the Sharps at that time.
Rebel Rouser. Tell me about the new band that you've been working with, Duane.
Well, I've got John Garnichet, who's a great young bass player, and Hal Blaine, who's been on more hit records than any musician that I can think of, and is just a fantastic drummer. And Don Randy, who put the group together, he owns a nightclub out in Universal City called the Baked Potato. He plays keyboards and is a fine jazz player as well as a good session musician, plays a lot of rock and roll too. And then Steve Douglas, of course, who was my original sax player and played on a lot of these early hits. And Ry Cooter, who is everybody knows is a fantastic guitar player, and Ry and I just sort of worked out a bunch of things and updated all these older songs into new versions. And my favorite thing that he does is the solos he does on 330 Blues, which is
well, why don't we go back to the original album and bring back the way it sounded the first time around?
all right. That sounds like a good idea.
3:30 Blues with Duane Eddy, and this is Jim Pewter. Was that recorded around that time in the morning, Duane?
No, I think actually you'll find if you time it, it's about 3 minutes and 30 seconds long.
Oh, is it really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I noticed on the album they didn't have times on the first album in the back here.
Yeah. But no, it was recorded. It was recorded at night, I think. It was quite late at night when we started doing it, and I had heard a guitar player then for the first time just a couple of months before. The Rivingtons took me down to Watts, and I set in with the blues bands down there and got into blues music.
Yeah.
And then I heard a guy named B.B. King, and that sort of influenced me even more. And that's why I did this 3:30 Blues.
Yeah. Let's pick out another one of your hits from '58. You were hot then, right after Moving and Groovin', Rebel Rouser. They just one right after another charted for you.
Yeah, we went back and did a Saturday night show with Dick Clark, and he said, well, I need a live song to close with, and so the only thing we had that we'd worked up was Ramrod, and so we did that, and that was, and Monday morning they had orders for 100,000 records, so we did that next, and that was the second big hit I had, and then the third one was a song called Cannonball.
That's it, Cannonball with Duane Eddy along with the Rebels. I'm thinking of a vegetable you like that begins with B, like in balloon. This game can keep young children happy for hours. It's also a method of helping your preschooler get ready to read. You, the parent, are the biggest influence on your child's ability to read, according to the U.S. Office of Education. So here are some ways to help your child get ready. Take a few minutes every day to play some pre-reading games with your preschooler. They can be as simple as asking the child to first read a letter of his or her name in a letter, whatever, or a newspaper headline, or writing down a story your child dictates. Set an example by showing how much you enjoy reading. Children who see their parents looking at newspapers, magazines, and books are more likely to become interested in reading. Finally, read to your child regularly. This is one of the best ways to help your child prepare to read. For more suggestions, get a copy of Teaching Your Child to Read. It's free from the Consumer Information Center, Pueblo, Colorado 81009. At the concert the other night, Duane, you played a beautiful instrumental with no accompaniment, just you on guitar, and it was dedicated to your daughter. And how old is she now?
She's 25 now. She was born in 1958.
Is that right?
And,
yeah.
well, she's almost 25. She'll be 25 October 17th.
Yeah.
I was out on the road at the time, and she was 3 days old before they caught up with me and told me she was here. She came to work a week early, and then I didn't get to meet her till she was about a week old. So I'm sitting on the bus and thinking about all that. I have a daughter now, and that's, that was pretty heavy stuff. So I sat there staring out the window watching the scenery go by and thinking about it, and I had a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and I started writing a song and wrote a song for her called Along Came Linda.
Beautiful song.
Thank you.
This next song that we're going to play right now, The Lonely One, I can just relate to you, Duane. The many nights I would sit by my hi-fi set in St. Paul, Minnesota, play The Lonely One over and over again, and it just brings back so many great memories. It came out around the early part of 1959, and I know you still perform this in concert, don't you? You get a lot of requests for it? Yeah.
A lot of requests, yes. Yeah, it was written for all the lonely ones out there.
One of my all-time favorites, The Lonely One, Duane Eddy. It's really great having you come over, and it's like I haven't seen you in a long time, but now that we're here, it's like it was only yesterday, because the music continues on, and
Thank you.
It's really special.
Well, I've been away from it for quite a few years, and, living up in the mountains and taking it easy, working once in a while, doing a tour here and there. And
where's your home now, Duane?
Lake Tahoe, Nevada.
Now, do you have plans possibly to record some more material now in the future?
Yes, we're working on that now. We're talking to a few record companies, and there seems to be a lot of interest, and because the old records have kept selling all along, and so it's come back around, I think, to where I've been away from it long enough. People are saying, well, hey, I want to hear that again, so we're talking to some record companies, and I think in the next few months sometime should have some new records out, I hope.
I was reading an interesting article about you and your group when you performed an excellent review, but Hal Blaine, who was drumming for you that night, said that all the sessions he's been at during the last 15, 20 years or so, when they want a certain guitar style, for someone to do some picking, they'll say, play a Duane Eddy lick here. They don't say, it's your name is now attached to the sound that you started. Not only did you influence people like the Ventures and Dick Dale, but Davey Allen and the Arrows, and so many were all influenced by you.
Yeah. So that's always been a source of pleasure to me, because the years I wasn't working and everything, I'd hear my sound on other people's records, and it just really knocked me out.
Let's rock out one more time. This was a great hit, around 59 also. 40 Miles of Bad Road with Duane Eddy. As we're motivating out, this is Jim Pewter along with
Duane Eddy.
And we'll see you tomorrow, right, Duane?
That's right. I'll be back here with you tomorrow.
Okay. Keep it straight ahead. Bye-bye. That's Ramrod, 1 minute and 40 seconds, right? With the short instrumentals all out of those
we did that for the disc jockeys in those days. They used to like to close their shows out with a short song so they could get a little more commercials in, and and also an instrumental. You don't want to drag it out forever.
Right.
So.
How does it feel now after all these years when you perform and have people come up to you after the show with albums going back to the late 50s, early 60s, asking for autographs and shouting your name? Hey, Duane, it's almost kind of like, does it make you feel like something, time just passed like that? And as far as their acceptance of you, it never really goes away. But after all these years, I guess it's because the music still holds up, don't you think, Duane?
Yeah, I think it does. I have to give the producer Lee Hazelwood and Lester Sill the credit for that. They worked very hard on the sound, and so they still sound fairly decent today, even though the technology's changed so much and we have such great sounding records today. But in answer to your question, yes, it does make me feel great. It's it's hard to describe, really. I don't have any answer for it, but it's just, other than it makes me feel great that people are still interested in the music.
How were you able to write a lot of this material when you were so busy on the road? Was that difficult? Would you do that like during the afternoons when you'd have some time off, or how did you handle that?
Yeah, either like that, or at night you come back to the hotel after the show and there was nothing to do and you're still buzzing from doing the show. I was, and sometimes I get some pretty good ideas then. And sometimes on the bus, when we're doing the bus tours and traveling around, there's hours and hours of sitting there doing nothing, and we might jam for a while. Dion would sing, and Laverne Baker or the Platters or whoever happened to be on that particular tour. I remember Chubby Checker doing Unchained Melody one day and did it beautifully, and surprised us all because we'd only heard him do the twist.
Yeah.
And so we'd get out some guitars and do that, and then sometimes I'd just sit there by myself and, like I said earlier, stare out the window, like I said yesterday, and look at the scenery go by and hear music in my head and start writing things.
Now, a title like this next hit you had called Yep, that was just something you might, let's just say Yep and we'll have some of the guys jump in and say it. Is that how that happened?
That's basically how it happened. Yep.
Duane Eddy. That's it, yep. Duane Eddy and the Rebels. And next we're going to play a tune that originally Henry Mancini had out. And were you the first, Duane, to give this a rock and roll beat, the feel to Peter Gunn?
I believe so. Ray Anthony had a hit on it.
That's right, yeah.
And so I did it in an album originally. And when the album came out in Australia decided they wanted to release it as a single. And they did, and it was a hit there.
Yeah.
So a couple of months later, England said, well, if it was a hit in Australia, let's try it here. So they did. And this happened over a period of 8-10 months. And finally, after that all happened, they decided that in the United States it should be released as a single. So it was, and it became a big hit.
I like the arrangement of this because the way everything is kind of balanced, and the way your guitar comes in, and you have the bass, and then the drums, and then the sax at the end there. It's great.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, Steve Douglas did the sax work on it. He does great on it.
times we listen to that over and over again. I remember we'd go down the street and get a pizza, bring it back, and my buddies would say it would be either Duane Eddy and the Rebels album, a Chuck Berry album, or Buddy Holly and the Crickets at the time. And this one night we kept playing them over and over again. And I remember a friend of mine called me and said, "You hear Duane's new record? It's Peter Gunn. You won't believe this when you hear it." Okay, bring it on over. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. It was good fun recording it.
Yeah. Just want to mention, beside Duane Eddy, Susie Frank is here, who represents Duane in concerts. And then we have my daughters, Maria and Nancy, and my producer, Dick Jocelyn's daughter, Michelle. And Davey Allen is going to be coming in a little bit later on. He'll be on tomorrow. We're having it's a home reunion here, but we're having a salute to the great instrumental rock stars. And
Too bad they can't be here and see these girls. They're beautiful.
Okay, we're going to have Because They're Young next, another smash from Duane in just a few seconds. Veterans safeguarding military discharge papers, marriage certificates, wills, and correspondence with VA can be one of the most important legacies you can leave your family. Some of the other documents that should be protected and filed are government and commercial life insurance policies, Social Security numbers, and naturalization papers where applicable. Remember, a few minutes spent organizing these important documents can do so much to avoid anguish during times of emotional stress. And that's so true, Duane. A lot of times, you get a contract and you may sign it, but you forget to Xerox it, or you do and you don't know where you filed it, and
That's right. That's the hardest thing in the world, to keep track of your important papers, and the most important thing to do. So
those
good advice.
Let's move on in your career. 1960, you were having, one hit after another. And this next one, Because They're Young, was one of the biggest singles in your career, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
and
1960.
It was from a movie that you were also in. And who are some of the other people in this movie, Because They're Young?
Well, it was a Dick Clark movie, and I did the theme song, which was the title song, Because They're Young. I think Tuesday Weld was in it.
Yeah, and James Darren, I think.
James Darren,
right.
Yes. He had a singing version of the same song.
Oh, he did.
And I came down from Seattle and drove all the way and got there about 8 o'clock in the morning one morning, and at the high school where they were filming it, Hoover High School in Glendale, and did a song called Shazam in the gymnasium, and they filmed that. That's in the movie.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. This was the title hit, though, from the movie.
This was the title song, and I did it both in the movie and on a record. It's called Because They're Young.
From the summer of 1960, Duane Eddy and Because They're Young. They show that on television from time to time.
Yeah, I've heard they do. I've not seen it, but, I did see it one night. Yeah, late at night they usually show it.
Let's talk about some more of your involvement, not only playing guitar and having hits, but also you did some acting on a TV series, right, Duane? In fact, the song we're going to play next was called The Ballad of Paladin. And tell me a little bit about that and some of the acting.
Well, I did a movie in 1961 called Thunder Drums, and the star of the movie was Richard Boone. And we became close friends and formed a friendship that lasted over 20 years until he died a couple of years ago. And after we did that Thunder Drums movie, he invited me up to do a couple of Have Gun Will Travels. And did one, and then I did another one. And we went to Hawaii, did a movie called Kona Coast. I had a small part in that. And on the way, I decided that Paladin would be, the theme song from Have Gun Will Travel would be a good song for me to do. So I did that. It's called The Ballad of Paladin.
That's it, The Ballad of Paladin, Duane Eddy, and that was a change of labels for you also. You had left Jamie and now you're with RCA.
Yeah, that's true. RCA came along, and I was very happy about that. It was a big, going from a small label to a big company like that, and it was fantastic. So I enjoyed that very much, and I think Deep in the Heart of Texas was the first record, one of the first singles I had, and then The Ballad of Paladin.
I wanted to ask you, Duane, how did you like the acting? Did you feel comfortable with that?
Not really.
No.
I'm a picker.
Yeah.
Guitar player. It was okay. I think I could do better at it today than I did then. But and man, those people work long hours. They start before dawn and finish after dark.
I know. You have to be very patient, and a lot of times you'll start a movie or a TV series, and you can start in the middle of it or the ending, and it's just they have to shoot the same scene over and over again.
Just setting up for it takes forever.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the people involved. And like I said, of course, Dick Boone and I were close friends, and I enjoyed that friendship immensely, and got to meet Charles Bronson and Richard Chamberlain and several other people that I admired very much, so it was great.
Sure, around this time now, Richard Chamberlain was doing Dr. Kildare, wasn't he?
No, this was before that.
Oh, was it before that then?
Yeah.
And of course he's gone on to become one of the greatest stars in the world. Yeah. Okay, you're on RCA Victor now, and this is around 1962, and all of a sudden you come out with a record called Dance with the Guitar Man. Becomes a big record, and it's different because you incorporate vocal, like the Blossoms were on this record.
Well, we were always, yes, that's right, Darlene Love and the Blossoms, and they were doing background singing in those days and working as studio singers, and we wanted to do something a little different, and So we decided to have something with some words in it and some lyrics and make it sort of half instrumental and half lyrics. It's called Dance with a Guitar Man.
Dance with a Guitar Man. And you're channeled in with Jim Pewter, along with special guest Duane Eddy, the #1 rock and roll instrumentalist of all time. And that's true, Duane. You've had more instrumental hits than anyone else that went like top 20 nationally. And
well, thank you.
Yeah.
It sure is a pleasure being here with you. It's
well,
nice
good.
to see you again after all this
It is.
time, and it's great talking with you. I got to do this.
Oh, I appreciate it. First Love, First Tears is coming up in just a few seconds, one of our all-time favorite ballads by Duane. Many service members are not aware that they are required by the Department of Defense to check with the Housing Referral Office before renting private housing. Every member of the military must check with the Housing Referral Office first whether assistance is needed or not in finding housing. All permanent change of station orders include a paragraph or reference to this effect. It helps military personnel from renting discriminatory housing unknowingly. Okay, and it's an instrumental rock and roll week. We're having the legends of the guitar, and this is the man who paved the way for all of them, Duane Eddy. Duane, this next song is, I remember I was dating a girl around this time in '59, and we had broken up. And this is I had this on a 45, First Love, First Tears, and every time I hear it, even today, I think about her, and it's emotional. It was
the kind of music you'd hear once in a while when you're sitting in the back seat of the car with somebody, and it was a very sad song.
Let's listen one more time.
Lady's Choice.
Okay. First Love, First Tears. Then you pull up with your car and go into your house, and then you kind of think about her again, right?
That's right. Everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
First love brings the first tears because they never last.
We have a tune called Shazam, another hit, and I remember reading the Captain Marvel comic books as a kid. Remember the Whiz comic books?
Billy Batson.
Billy Batson, yeah. And I used to save comics, Duane, back in the late 50s, and had a great collection. But I used to scoot on down to Minneapolis on my bike, and my mother warned me, don't be going down there so much. My brother was having a birthday, and she says, get back here by 5:30. I got home about 6. As I was walking around the backyard, she was burning all the comics in the trash can.
If she only knew how much they were worth today.
I know it. It's incredible. But Shazam came about because of Captain Marvel, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what Billy Batson used to say when he changed into Captain Marvel. He just yelled, Shazam.
Go! Too much. We got to split on out, and I just want to say all the best to you, Duane, and thanks for coming on over and talking to us.
Thank you, Jim. It's been all too short. I hope I get to come back and see you all again sometime.
All right. We'll be looking forward to it.
Everybody.
All right. Thanks again, Duane.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Keep it straight ahead.